How often do you find yourself or, see others just fiercely defending their beliefs? Like completely convinced they've got the absolute truth.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, and it just spirals, doesn't it, into these really heated debates. Your side gets the praise, everyone else gets the blame. It feels, well, pretty human, I
It
guess.
really does. That dynamic is everywhere.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into an ancient text that tackles this exact thing. We're looking at parts of the Mahāviyūhasutta.
Mhm.
And this isn't just some dusty old scroll. It really explores our attachment to our own views, why we argue so much, and maybe a different way, what it calls purity or liberation.
A very different way, yeah. Counterintuitive sometimes.
So our mission really is to unpack what this ancient wisdom says about that constant cycle of arguing, about who's right and how people look for liberation.
And what it might mean to be genuinely free from those fixed opinions.
Exactly. So, okay, let's dig into this.
Let's do it.
The text kicks off with this really sharp observation. It says something like, those who cling to views asserting this is the truth all invite blame and also gain praise there.
Right.
It sets up the whole problem right away, doesn't it? Like a feedback loop for fighting.
It really does. And what's fascinating is how immediately it points to that clinging, holding on to views as the source. You get praise, sure, from people who agree with you.
Of course.
But inevitably, you get blame from others. And the text is blunt. These arguments, these disputes, they're insufficient for peace.
Insufficient for peace. Wow.
Yeah, it's just this self-feeding cycle. The very act of saying this is the truth seems to automatically create resistance, create tension. It's describing a law of social physics, almost.
And it goes deeper than just having different opinions, right? The Sutta points out how people call their own doctrine supreme, while calling the exact same one inferior if someone else holds it, or maybe calling someone else's view inferior. That ranking seems key.
That's such a critical point. It's not just difference, it's hierarchy, judgment.
Yes.
The text observes this universal tendency. Everyone tends to call their own doctrine complete, totally sufficient,
Right. Mine's perfect.
and another's doctrine inferior. And that, the text implies, is what really fuels the disputes. Each group locks onto their own convention as truth.
Which makes you wonder, I mean, if everyone thinks their view is the top one, how can anyone actually find common ground or real understanding?
Exactly. How can resolution ever happen? It feels like it just traps us, doesn't it, in this constant back and forth.
So, okay, if holding on to views traps us in arguments, how do people usually try to get out, to find that purity the text talks about?
Well, the Sutta describes a few common strategies.
Like what?
For instance, some try through moral conduct and vows. Really strict self-control, discipline,
Yeah.
following the rules meticulously.
That sounds, well, pretty logical, like a common religious or ethical approach.
It does seem intuitive, but the text points out a catch, a real challenge.
Uh-huh.
It says, if one falls from moral conduct and vows, one trembles, having missed their practice.
Ah, so if you slip up.
You panic, you fret, longing for purity. The insight there seems to be that just sticking to external rules, even virtuous ones, can actually create more anxiety if it's not linked to something deeper.
Like a fear of failure almost undermines the goal.
Precisely. If that external practice is all you have, falling short leaves you really agitated, not peaceful.
Interesting. What other methods does it mention? I think you said something about austerities.
Yes, exactly. Some extol purity based on austerities, really pushing the body, extreme practices.
Right.
Others base it purely on perception, what is seen, heard, or sensed. Relying only on their direct sensory input or maybe specific experiences.
Okay, so discipline, extreme practices, or just raw experience. How does the Sutta view those?
Well, here's the critical part, connecting it all. The text says that even people pursuing these paths are often not free from craving in successive existences.
Ah, so the underlying motivation matters.
Hugely. It's questioning whether any of these external methods, or even direct perceptions, if they're still fundamentally tied to craving, to wanting something, even purity, if they really lead to lasting liberation.
So if the wanting is still there, the freedom isn't complete.
That seems to be the implication. True freedom remains just out of reach.
Which leads to another approach people take, asserting purity through knowing. That quote, I know, I see, it is indeed so. That feeling of absolute certainty from a personal insight.
Yes, that powerful conviction of direct seeing.
But the sutta pushes back on that, too.
Yeah, it does, quite directly. It says, even if one sees much or little, the skilled do not declare purity by that.
So just seeing things, even profound things, what it calls name and form, basically reality as we perceive it.
Right, the mental and physical stuff we experience.
That alone doesn't automatically equal purity or liberation.
Apparently not. Which naturally leads to the big question. If just seeing isn't enough, what kind of seeing or what else does lead to this state? What's the nature of the insight it's really pointing towards?
Okay, so if all these conventional paths, rules, austerities, perception, even direct knowing, have these potential pitfalls or limitations, where does that leave us? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It really takes a turn here, yeah.
The text suggests the real path involves seeing the limits of all these disputes, the whole game, and actively looking for a safe, undisputed ground, somewhere beyond the arguments.
And it introduces this, well, pretty radical idea. It talks about the truly wise person.
Right.
Who, having completely abandoned all moral conduct and blameworthy and blameless actions, just moves without longing for either purity or impurity.
Whoa, abandoning moral conduct. That sounds risky.
It sounds jarring, doesn't it? But the interpretation usually isn't about becoming unethical. It's more about transcending the clinging even to ethical frameworks or identities as the sole source of liberation or peace.
Ah, so it's letting go of the attachment to the framework, not the ethics themselves.
That's the idea. Moving beyond those dualities, good, bad, pure, impure as things to grasp onto. Finding a peace that isn't dependent on rigidly adhering to one side.
And it's deeply personal, isn't it? The text says purity for them is individual.
Exactly. It's internal, self-realized, not something society or a group validates for you.
So how does it describe this person, this wise individual? It uses the term Brahmin, right?
Yes, using Brahmin not in a caste sense, but as an epithet for someone perfected, truly wise. This person, it says, has no guidance from others regarding doctrines deeply understood.
Meaning they don't need external validation for their insights?
Precisely. And because of that, they transcend disputes. They simply don't feel the need to see other doctrines as superior or inferior. There's no need to put others down to lift themselves up.
Their understanding is just self-contained.
Self-contained, self-realized.
Which makes the contrast so clear. One who clings to a view is not a guide to purity, if you're still holding on tight.
You're just not free yourself, so how can you guide others there? That's the implication.
So this wise person, they don't get caught up in.
They don't enter into reckoning, is the phrase used. They don't cling to views. They don't even cling rigidly to knowledge itself.
Wow. Not clinging even to knowledge.
It's profound. They kind of remain indifferent, or maybe unperturbed is a better word, while others grasp at all these conventions, these assertions of truth. They observe without getting entangled.
They see the grasping but don't participate.
Right. They step out of that mental game of comparing, judging, defending.
The text also calls this person a muni, right? A sage.
Yes, muni is another term, meaning a sage, often a silent or deeply introspective one. This muni has discarded fetters, the things that bind us.
And crucially,
they don't take sides, does not side with parties in disputes. They remain calm among the restless.
Calm among the restless, I like that.
And indifferent to grasping, just utterly detached from that need to hold on to things, ideas included.
So, summing up this state of liberation, it's about being.
Completely liberated from views, having totally abandoned past defilements like greed or hatred, and crucially, not creating new ones.
Stopping the cycle.
Exactly. They're unattached and therefore unblamed because they've stopped doing the things that generate blame or require attachment in the first place. It's like cutting off the root.
And that final image,
yeah,
it's incredibly powerful. The muni is free from all doctrines, regardless of what's seen, heard, or sensed.
Completely free.
They've laid down the burden. They're liberated. They don't even form ideas in the clinging sense, nor do they crave.
Yeah.
So what does this boil down to for us listening now? It feels like a call for, well, profound non-attachment, not just to stuff, but to our most cherished ideas, our opinions.
It really is.
We've dug into some pretty fascinating, maybe challenging ideas from the Mahāviyūhasutta today. It really paints this picture where the very act of clinging, holding tight to our ideas, even the ones we think are good and true, can itself be a source of suffering.
And endless arguments, yeah. And the text offers this really radical alternative, doesn't it? A path where real purity, real peace, isn't found in proving your beliefs right or winning the fight.
Right.
but in actually letting go of the need to hold so tightly. Transcending that whole game of views, praise, blame, better, worse.
It's a freedom from the argument itself.
A kind of deep internal peace.
So this deep dive into the Mahāviyūhasutta, it leaves us with a pretty compelling thought, I think. In a world that's just overflowing with conflicting views and constant debate, what if real wisdom, what this text calls purity, isn't about winning the argument? What if it's about letting go of the need to argue at all?
That's the challenge it puts forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question for you, listening, might be, what would it actually mean in your life to hold your own understanding more lightly? To genuinely try and transcend that need for your view to be the ultimate truth? Something to think about.